pressed the pause button there by accident. Anyway, so these are the business opportunities. You got your wholesale people, but you kind of potentially you might be tied to location if you know because you develop those the relationships with the local businesses and stuff, and that could potentially tie you down. And if you're traveling, that might not be such a great idea. Might not work so well for you, but if you're like living and you just want in a city in a semi, but or you could even travel and offer those services anywhere you go, depending on what was going on in that community. Anyway, so that's one. And then at the retail end, the guy I actually bought this setup from, or the company I bought it from, was founded by a guy who, his personal story is something like he was having some kind of financial crisis, and he came upon like a button maker, and he went to some convention, and he just stood outside the convention. He set up the table and was pushing buttons and selling them, I guess for like $1 each or something. And according to him, he made a couple of $1,000 or like, within that, during the course of that event, which is probably like a day or two. So, and then I guess that led to him expanding his button making business, and then he started selling button presses and button supplies and sort of educational materials. So, I know that's at the high end. That's sort of at the as good as it gets kind of end of things. But I think you could realistically make a couple of hundred a day. I mean, I had one order. So this is like an extension of my main business, which is not mobile or portable at all. My main business is also in the graphics industry, but it's like it relies on heavy machinery and heavy electricity usage. So it's like it's totally doesn't work with traveling on any type of portability or being sort of off grid or anything like that. So I was this is for me is like a branching off into something a little bit more I guess it's not off grid, but something a little bit more portable and kind of light. So anyway, so yeah, I had one customer and she wanted 250 buttons. I charged her 50 cents based on my research of what pricing kind of looks like for these things. Charged her 50 cents a button. So I made $125. It took me about 3 hours, I would say 3 to 4 hours probably. So that's roughly like $25-$30 an hour. Not bad. The supplies cost like nothing. Like I said, it's like you buy like 1,000 of it, the pieces, for like $40 or something. You could buy it online on eBay or one of these button maker supply places. So my cost of materials was probably I don't know $4, and my labor was like 3 to 4 hours. And I mean, I use the term labor loosely because you're just sitting there doing that, and you could put on a movie, you could put on some music, you could do whatever you want. You could put on an audio book, which I do a lot, while working. So, it's pretty nice. And you could do this easily in a van because it takes up no space. That's all. The biggest piece of equipment you will need is inkjet printer. But you could probably sidestep that by, taking your graphic file and putting it on like a USB stick and going to like a local print center, like a Kinko's or Staples or something, because this grid, if you could arrange, you could probably, I mean, I kind of maxed it out, but so it's got 20 total pins worth of art on here, right? So if I needed to make 100 pins, 5 of these sheets would be 100 pins. So, if you go to any print center or your library for that, I mean, I don't know how good of a quality print you're going to get from a library printer because they're not designed for graphics. They're just designed for general purposes. But you go to a print center, you get 5 sheets. It'll cost you $1 or something, $2. So that's it. That's if you don't have an inkjet printer, but you could also have an inkjet printer if you could, make that happen in the van. And that's it. And this is your whole setup right here, so it takes up no space. You could easily do this anywhere. So, so yeah, at the retail end, I would say, I don't know so at the retail, so wholesale we covered. At the retail end, I would say you could, if you're in a town or something, and there's an event happening, like some kind of holiday or any type of political rally, Thanksgiving Day parade or whatever, anything. You could set up a booth or either just do it on the side of the street depending where you are, or most likely you'll have to get some kind of permit for the day. And you could just set up a table or a booth and sell pins at retail. So now you're selling to an end customer, meaning that person is not looking to resell it and make a profit. He's looking to just use it. that's called the end customer. So end customer basically will buy it. Now you could charge $3, $4, maybe potentially $5 for a pin that says like "I love Maine" or something. Whatever the event is, whatever the occasion is, you could just cater buttons to that occasion, um, and sell them at retail. So potentially, if you have an event, so what you do is you come into a town, because I've been doing this self-employed thing for a few years now, and I kind of speak to a lot of other people that do this kind of stuff. These hustlers in New York that just kind of they know whenever anything's going on in the city, they are monetizing it. So I do T-shirts primarily. That's my main business. So I have a lot of customers who will just come in and say, "Hey, all right, it's the Super Bowl's on. Let's make shirts for both teams." And I have my guys in the streets, my vendors selling them. you know. So and we're like pressing shirts for the Super Bowl, and then like whenever one team wins, then we press more shirts for that team, and then the other ones are basically junk now. So it's really wasteful, but yeah, that's the business I'm in at the moment. But so anyway, so what you do is you come into a town, you check the local paper, you see what's happening. Potentially, you could approach the local businesses, organizations, and say, "Hey, I offer this service," or you can just make your own buttons for an event or an occasion and sell them, at retail. So figure like if you have a street fair or something and you sell, 100 pins, which is like not a lot at all, because if you have heavy traffic on the street where you are, you sell 100 pins for $4. That's $400. Like some people make that in a week. I used to make that in a week, 40 hours, hard labor. But now you can make that in a few hours of just kind of sitting there doing this, pressing the buttons. So it's about working smarter, not harder. I think that's a really true saying. So yeah, I think that's it. So hopefully I covered most of that. That's basically the whole business in terms of the actual the technique. That's it. That's the whole business. And then as far as but it's easy to learn the skill. But marketing is really where you want to focus most of your effort. And by marketing I mean nothing sleazy, nothing people tend to associate marketing with something negative, but it doesn't have to be. It depends on what you're marketing, how you're doing it. By marketing, I mean just making people aware of your service or your product. So if you're stationary, you live in the city or a town, you could go to local coffee shops, local cultural centers, and just drop off flyers or drop off, sample pins with your contact information on them, custom buttons, custom pins. Or if you're traveling, you could potentially, just you could base your traveling around where the things are happening. Say, hey, Baltimore is having some kind of parade or something. So you research everything you need to research.